Hello, and thank you ever so much for joining us on this week's short talk. If you are joining us for the first time or seeing this for the first time, our short talks are just short videos exploring different aspects of the Methodist way of life, what it means to be a Methodist disciple, a follower of Jesus. And each month we're taking sort of like a subsection of that Methodist way of life, and we're drilling into a bit of a theme for the month. This month is December, and so this theme for this month is Advent. And I am delighted to be joined by Matt Lunn today, and we are going to be exploring that theme just a little bit more. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you, James. Welcome.
And just so our viewers, our listeners know, you you are within the London district. Do you want to just describe a little bit about your role, what you do? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm a presbyter in my third year. I'm in the New River Circuit in North London, and I was meant to be ordained in June this year, but I was received into full connection on Zoom. So if you like, I've had my engagement party, and I'm just waiting for the wedding next year, April, which I'm looking forward to. So enjoying ministry in the New River Circuit.
Nice. And so you have been running the Advent course recently. Do you want to just talk to us a bit about how that has gone, what stood out for you, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so usually in our circuit, individual ministers in their churches would be doing an Advent course physically in a building. For me, I would be doing two churches, so one in the afternoon, one in the evening. But because of the pandemic, we felt that we could do something collectively as a circuit where the staff, along with the church members, would come together and have one big Advent course. So we meet on Zoom on a Sunday evening using the London District course, and we've found it's been an excellent course to engage with people, and we've had about 80 participants, which has been really good. And I think the good thing about that is that some members who wouldn't maybe physically get to a building either because of health or age, and having to get in a car on a December evening, it's not really attractive, is it? They can actually, by a click of a button, join us from wherever they are, and we get to see people's homes. They even join in on the telephone, and we found so far after session 2, it's been a really big success. We've had Paul Hill join us. He's led session 2. We've got Jen Smith coming to speak to us, who's done session 3. And we're really blessed in the circuit because we have Gideon, who put session 1 together, who is also a member and local preacher in our circuit. So yeah, it's gone really well, and we're surprised how successful it's gone.
Nice. And how do you think how you found that kind of online space, would you say? Because obviously it's very different to being in person. How have you found running a course on that online space?
I think, yeah, it is creative way of doing it, isn't it? We can share the screen, we can have breakout rooms. Very difficult to mute people, so we can, I suppose we have more power to mute people rather if you had more of a talkative person in a physical group. So by clicking mute, you're in more control. I think it's a good way of doing a course on Zoom. We're also able to share it on Facebook or YouTube, record it. So it is a creative way of doing it. And it's more personal, because if you look behind me, you get to see my study, I get to see your study, and we get to see each of us homes. So it's more like from my home to your home, and we're inviting people in. And let's be honest, is that what the early church was about? Meeting in people's homes. So I think it's easier for people and it's more creative. Question is, are we going to stop doing it like that when back into a physical building? Is physical buildings are the barriers, or do we continue doing it in the winter months where you don't have to de-ice your car, but stay at home, put the heating on, have a cuppa, and join in on Zoom. So it's reaching out to a lot more people. Interestingly, on our course, the Advent course, we've had people join us from Wales, which is good. Our morning prayers we have with people joining in from Jakarta. A Bible course, I had someone joining from the Gambia. So these are really good ways where actually we really are truly connected. And as the Methodist Church, where we believe we're a connection, I feel this year we've learned that we're more connected than ever.
Yeah, and I think that is a sort of a real testament, I suppose, to this online space which has seemed to have formed, which we might not have ever, if I don't know if you, I mean, there's quite a lot of things I think that if you turn around to me and said, hey, this is what the end of 2020 is going to look like, I'd probably be like, shut the front door, because could not have predicted it. But I think if you turn around and said, we're going to trade some of our physical in-meeting spaces for more online spaces, I think that also would have been a thing, and a sort of a bit of a difficult one for quite a lot of people to swallow, to get their heads around. Why would we trade? But I think, as you've mentioned, this the online space has really opened up, sort of, I'd say opened up doors, digital doors, to entering into people's homes, but also sort of people around the world. It's all like that kind of idea of having global neighbors, sort of people that can access things all around the world, and having that kind of global neighborhood reach, has, I think, become more prevalent in this particular time. Yeah, and how is, I suppose, planning for Christmas? I don't know about you, but I love a good carol service. You could probably find me sort of booking my time up for carol services, or sort of midnight mass type spaces, and those kind of times, which normally would be in person. I'm also a bit of an extrovert, so I'd probably fill my time with people and gathered spaces physically. How has, maybe as a sort of presbyter and minister at this particular time, leading congregations, doing the stuff, how has that been online?
Definitely different, but I've realised that I don't get as mad maybe with the carols, looking at some of the language. You look at one where it says "no crying he makes," and you think, what kind of baby was this? I honestly feel that I also like a good sing and a carol service, and I look at usually my diary and I think, how am I going to get to Christmas Day? 2 services on Christmas Day. And then Christmas Eve, I have a Christingle at 3 o'clock, a Christingle at 7 o'clock usually, then midnight communion. And I feel that maybe a new way about the minister's health is looking at doing, I suppose, less is more. Less is more, and rather than having 2 Christingles on Christmas Eve, having one that is on Facebook. Not meeting in the building, rather than having 2 church services on Christmas Day, running from one church to another, only having one, because one of my churches have decided not to reopen till January because of we felt safety is more important. And I like to plan, and usually I would plan from September all the way to August, and I suppose this year it feels like we've been in that wilderness where we don't know what to expect. How do you advertise your services when you're maybe not doing them in a physical building, but virtual? How do you advertise? So we've advertised through Facebook. One of my churches have paid to advertise it, so it goes out to more people. And things like our carol service, pop-up nativity, that's going to be on Zoom, Blue Christmas on Zoom, Chris Dingle on Facebook Live. So we've got these services online that we can use on different platforms. Quite attractive to say to the community, join us from the comfort of your own home. Maybe going into a church building is quite intimidating. Where do you sit? What's this book? Oh, it's a hymn book. Don't sit there because I don't know. Jones always sat there. So it is a way of actually where we can get more people to reach out to more people online. I think the fear is we've never done it before over Christmas. Doing pastoral visits for me is different, where we'd like to do more home communions. So I suppose this year less is more, and we've got an advantage, I feel, to reach out to more people, that actually the hope of the world, Jesus Christ himself, who light comes among darkness, born of a babe, that hope is more needed. So isn't it, after the year that the world has had, that people are maybe needing that message of hope?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this, so I was reflecting, you know, as one does in well, hopefully at all times, but particularly at this particular time, Advent, coming into Advent, that this is the only, I mean, hopefully the only time that Advent will look like this for us. This is, you know, maybe a bit more of a sort of a quieter, a spacious Advent. What does that, I mean, you were talking a bit about as not feeling like there's kind of rushing from engagement to engagement to engagement. How do you think that kind of speaks into maybe the kind of bigger story of Advent? Or is there something that for you is a particular Advent reflection because of the year, because of the situation that we're in?
I think it's both, really. I mean, when I say about running around, sometimes it feels like churches are so busy doing stuff like Christmas fairs and lots of carol services.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe Jesus is saying, why don't you let me in? Because we're so busy doing things over Advent and Christmas that we're busy doing rather than busy being. And maybe it's an opportunity to say, well, that message of hope, why let Jesus in? We see it in our churches a lot, where we've had Christmas, right? That's it. Now let's put baby Jesus back in the box in the cupboard for another year because we want to plan for other services. I remember when I was in Yorkshire, I know value for money in Yorkshire we like, but where I would see it, where 24th, 25th of December, right, we've had Christmas now, let's put all the nativity, the decorations away. And then you're thinking, but we've still got Epiphany to come. So I think this year has been a message where we've got to say, well, not only less is more, but why don't we let the reason for the season in, which is Jesus, where we sometimes as churches, we feel we're doing the right thing, and I suppose we are, but we're forgetting why we're doing it. And I think because of stripping stuff back, like an Advent course where it's only one Chris Dingle, circuit's working more like a circuit. It's an opportunity to say to the people, this is it, and this is what we're wanting to offer to the community. And I think that hope of where people are worried, what's next year going to bring? You know, what is it going to bring? And we can say that hope, that message of Emmanuel, God is with us, and that God is with you. And it's a great evangelistic message that we're able to give to our people. But I'm also thinking one of my churches who are reopening this coming Sunday, I've not, for Lockdown 2, sounds like a film, doesn't it? Lockdown 2. They've actually not met throughout Lockdown 2 because we couldn't, but the church food bank was open. And I reflect about that, and the church for worship, if you like, the building is closed, but the building is open for the food bank. And I just wonder, Jesus looks at that and goes, that's the church I always wanted. We become too inward, and it's an opportunity for us this year to be more outward. Rather than worrying about our church decorating with a Christmas tree, let's have lights outside and with a banner that say, God is with us.
And I think there is a point where this particular year, and we could probably talk about this for a lot longer, but I think where this has been a defining or a redefining moment for sort of the church in its context, in its local communities, the functions, what does it do, almost a slightly existential moment. I think the president of conference talked about disorientation and reorientation in one of his messages, and I think that idea of there is that journey of disorientation and reorientation, and I think that there is a sense of, oh, okay, what does that resettling of the dust look like? It's almost actually sort of, I suppose, in some ways waiting for the coming king, so to speak. You know, that we're in that process of almost looking. We don't quite know what the world will look like and how long we will be in maybe a space of flux for. But I think there is a moment of change, of shift, of something new coming in, or redefinition of the kind of the way that things were. And I think that is maybe slightly similar to that the story of Advent that we read. You know, there is an ushering in of a new kingdom when Jesus comes, and there's a new way of doing things and a new order, and yeah, maybe this Advent period is kind of the watching and the waiting of what that could, I suppose, what that could be, what that could look like for us in our contexts.
Yeah, I think I agree, and we've tried to made it neat and tidy, a story. You know, I remember when I was a child, I used to really dislike being in that nativity play, because my Sunday school teacher would tell me off if I got my lines wrong. So I always wanted to be, you know, the innkeeper, where I would have to say no room in the inn. Luckily, I'm not like Jim from Vicar Dibley, otherwise no room. But I do feel that we need to, you know, we've made a story that's messy about, you know, refugees and travelers, and we've made this story that is messy into the normality, which has been a messy year for us all. But over the years, I feel that we've tried to make the story neat and tidy. But actually, if it, like for our Saviour, and like for all of us today, us on the screen and everybody around the world, life's not like that. If only life was as simple as putting a tea towel on your head and singing Little Donkey would be great. Even though that's all, you know, it's all good, isn't it? But I feel that this year we're inviting that story, that welcome of Jesus with his arms borne open, into that messiness. And every year life can be messy, is messy. There's lots of stuff that goes on, and I feel more so there's a reason for that Advent story and journeying through together, that we're, along with the messiness, we're inviting Jesus in, just like that first story over the 2,000 years ago, that Jesus comes amongst the messiness.
Yeah, and I think it's often funny how, you know, we can read the same stories and we can journey through the same things, but especially depending on the year, we have the messiness of the nativity story, I think, particularly resounds this year. Almost that kind of dirty glory aspect of it. You know, it is both and. Both kind of in the dirt, in the mud, in the change, and I was particularly thinking about the fact that this year is a year where, actually, when we talk about our Christmas plans being changed, I feel like I can identify with that in the nativity story of having to no room at the inn. You know, where do we go? It feels that for some of us that real is a bit of a reality, and also that kind of the deeper side of, actually, it was messy, it was it was scandal, it was shame, it was all of those things that I think is a real kind of that deeper sense of maybe a reflection on how our years have been. It's not just necessarily, oh, my Christmas plans aren't, you know, going a bit, I've gone a bit upside down, but you know, in our year is also quite a sort of, has been a messy year, maybe a year of struggle and tears and sorrow and grief, and all that kind of stuff, which we can read as well, those deeper notes in the nativity story as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. But thanks ever so much for kind of joining this kind of short talk, where I feel covered a broad spectrum of all things Advent, and what the Christmas story looks like for us in our context today. So thanks ever so much for joining, Matt. It's been a pleasure chatting these things with you. And for those people that are watching this video, please do feel free to kind of share and to sort of share the video and the resources that come out on our social media pages. And feel free to join next week. We've got obviously these coming out each week, so feel free to kind of join in. But thank you ever so much, Matt, and I will I will see you soon, I'm sure, hopefully in person.
Yeah, if not on Zoom.
If not on Zoom, indeed.
Thank you.